Hey all you minties, this is the Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition. And today join me as I go back and take a look at the Golden Age Superman Omnibus Volume 2. So please stay tuned. Okay, so let's take a look at this book. This is the Golden Age Superman Omnibus Volume 2. Here is the spine, DC logo, Soup's up at the top, and then the Golden Age Superman Omnibus Volume 2 back here. Retail price is $75 for this book. Now, let's look at it without the dust jacket. So you kind of get this, Superman, the Golden Age Omnibus Volume 2. And I think that's about the only... Oh, no, cool. So here's the spine and the back cover. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that my DC comics begin with Crisis on Infinite Earths and then after, right? I've tried to go back and read the Golden Age stuff. I've tried to go back and read Silver Age. And as a matter of fact, I had the first three Superman Golden Age Omnibus. And so why am I doing this? Well, actually, let's go back here to look at the table of contents. Because DC was kind enough to send me a copy of this book. We've been able to contact each other. So, you know, we're going to start either doing overviews, advanced overviews, or getting some advanced solicitations from them. Whatever they're able to give me, I am more than grateful for. So this is the very first book they sent me. Volume 1 was just reprinted, so this has been around for a few years now. I want to say like 4 or 5 years. I think I sold mine about 5 years ago, so it had to be longer than that. Here is your table of contents. All these stories were written by Jerry Siegel, given proper credit where credit is due. And then the cover artist, and then the artists of their time. So yeah, DC was kind enough to send me this book, and this is my first overview for a DC book that was sent by them. So thank you very much to the folks at DC. Now, let's see. I do have to point out something that I didn't point out at first, and that is this beautiful, wonderful cover by Darwin Cook, one of my favorite artists. And actually, I think he did most of Supergirl and Superman. He did a lot of these omnibus covers, so that's one thing I have to point out. It's a very wholesome cover. Here is a foreword by Leonard Maltin. He was the correspondent, the movie correspondent at Entertainment Tonight for over 20 years, apparently. And most of these stories in here are from 1940 to 1942. So we get to see a lot of the earlier work of Superman. And honestly, the artwork compared to Volume 1, like I mentioned, Volume 1 was just reprinted. It's got a new cover. Looks a lot better. Because I remember that was one of my biggest issues was with Volume 1 was some of the art in it. The restoration of the colors are nice. And as you can see, it's framed, right? Like you still have that much room on the paper, on the page. So that probably has to do more with the scaling. I mean, you're going to lose a little bit of quality if you try to expand that more. But yeah, these are some of the earlier stories. And I remember, I think I read all the way up until the first half of Volume 3. And that's when I decided, yeah, this is way too hokey. There's not a lot of Superman fighting just evil villains. It's kind of like this guy that has like godlike powers and he's taken down, you know, crime syndicate and just fighting like human beings. And I had Batman for that, right? So I got that. Well, I wanted to see him fight, you know, super villains that are just as powerful as he is. So this takes place, yeah, like I said, in the 40s, early 40s, 1940 to 1942. And it collects Action Comics 32 to 47, Superman 8 through 15, World's Best Comics #1, World's Finest Comics 2, 3, and 4. And when I say 1940 to 1942, it feels crazy saying that because that was 80 years ago. So the stories in here are 80 years old. That is insane. Most of the stories, like I said, are pretty much the same. Superman goes out and helps somebody. Takes advantage of his secret identity as Clark Kent. So, as a comic... Oh, that is really cool. As a historian of comics, I'm sure this is awesome. Kind of like the stuff that Marvel released with the Golden Age Marvel books. The omnibus of that. He gets into real world... That's right, he does get into some real world issues here. Some social issues. It's pretty interesting to go back and read some of this stuff. So I hope this does it justice. Because, I mean, there were some really nice color restorations in this compared to, like, the original ones. As a matter of fact, I think some people have said that what they've done is actually gone back and recolored it and not touched up the colors. So just going back to the black and white and then added the colors to make it look like Golden Age colors. So one of my favorite things that they've done in this omnibus, and collections, I'm sure, like when they were doing the archives, is giving credit to the artist, because most of the time you would just see Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's name, right? So a lot of the artists like Wayne Boring or Paul Cassidy or Fred Ray, they would, nobody would know that they were artists, but so it's really cool that they've gone back and done that. I really appreciate that. Giving credit where credit is due. By the way, the book has 750 pages, and as we get here towards the end, you can probably tell that the binding is actually pretty good compared to some of the most recent DC book bindings. It's a pretty good binding. We're at, page 700 now and still able to lay over. Let's look at these extras here, see if there's any. As far as extras in the back, there's really not much, which I guess it makes sense. Not much house ads or anything like that people kept. But here's the quick biography of the creators, and, actually, all these creators have passed away now. Here's some more. And then images here of Superman in action poses. Let's look at this binding. And as you could probably tell, it is sewn binding. There's the eye. It laid over a lot better when we're looking at the early pages, There's no gutter loss. Not that you would need it, because they didn't really have any splash pages back then. Or not that I've seen in these volumes, anyway. And that was the contents of the book. Let me know in the comments down below if you already have these, if you have no interest in the Silver, Golden Age books, where your DC comics begin to you. I would love to know those comments down below. And you can purchase this book from cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself in packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Cheap Graphic Novels Black Friday sale is continuing all through December, so there's still time to save up to 95% off thousands of books. Additional books will be added throughout the month, so be sure to check back often and stay tuned to CGN on social media to be the first to know when the new books have been added to the sale. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, notifications button. We can be found on Redbubble and on Patreon. And remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint.